Good afternoon. I'm Jimmy Kim, and you are tuning into the greatest show on the planet, The Jimmy Kim Show. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Pete Olson. Pete Olson is a former U.S. Congressman, a decorated Navy veteran, as well as a lawyer by trade. And today, he will be sharing his incredible story with us. So tune in, and you don't want to miss this. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start. Pete, can you go ahead and start with some background about yourself?
Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for having me. A special, special day to be at Radio Dabang with my friend Jimmy. Woo! Woo! And first, before we start, I want to remind people there is a tropical storm about to hit us tomorrow. There'll be some flooding, isolated, not massive flooding like Harvey, but flooding. Please stay home. The schools are all closed tomorrow. Don't drive. Binge watch. Binge watch this show.
Yes, binge watch our show. Watch it over and over because you're going to be trapped at home.
Other binge watch thing, the Texans had a great game yesterday. Watch that game over and over and over. We destroyed the Jaguars, destroyed them. So stay home, be safe. Thank you for the time on this. I love being with you on air here. You're what makes America so great. And I'm the example of how America is so great. I mean, I was born to a middle-class family. My mother and father grew up in Chicago, Illinois. They're Yankees. Sorry about that. And my dad joined the Army. I was born at Fort Lewis there in Washington State. He was transferred for a paper company to Wisconsin, Ohio, North Carolina, Alabama, and then came here to Texas, Pasadena. All that by the time I was 9 years old. And then God said, Pete, you're going to stop moving. You're going to become a Texan. So I went to Clinic High School, graduated there in 1981, went to Rice University. Go Owls. The Cougars did some damage to us this past weekend. Good game, Cougars.
I saw that.
Congratulations going to the Big 12 and bring us with you. And then went to law school in Texas. But then, as you read from my resume, my whole life, especially growing up by the Johnson Space, I lived a mile and a half from that. Went to school with astronauts' kids. You know, walk in the house and said, that guy's walked on the moon. Or that guy's still in the space station.
Very nice.
It's awe-inspiring. And so my whole life I wanted to be an astronaut, but never was willing to make the commitment because it takes at least 10 years of your life to get through all the hurdles till they think about you. And so after law school, I decided, God said, dude, if that's what you want to do, take a shot. I'm with you. So I did it. Never practiced law. Got the license, passed the bar, but never actually practiced law. Didn't use my computer science degree rights for anything other than a nice diploma, and joined the Navy. And 9 years later, I left the Navy. I was a pilot of what's called a P-3 Orion, a P-3 Orion, a submarine hunter of the old Cold War days. And Jimmy, the Navy did some bad things to me. They made me live in Hawaii for 3 years. Can you believe that? The out of Oahu, Barbers Point Naval Air Station, that was my home port for 3 years. 2 deployments, one to the Western Pacific, the Japanese, Chinese area, and one to the Persian Gulf in 1994. Was sent back to the stateside, to D.C., worked at the Joint Chiefs of Staff as an intern for 1 year. And that's how I got into Capitol Hill. The Navy has a liaison office there. Navy liaison. I was one of 4 officers there to represent the Navy in Congress. And that got me exposed to Congress. After my first child was born, my daughter Kate, in 1997, my wife and I decided it's time to go home because if I stayed in the Navy, I'd be at sea for probably 2.5 years of the first 4 years of her life.
It's a long time.
Yeah, too big a price to pay. So left active duty, but got a job for Phil Graham for his last 4 years. He was replaced by Senator John Cornyn, was his first chief of staff. And then out of nowhere, the hero of this district, Tom DeLay, resigned. He'd been there for like over 20 years. My home district is up for anybody who can win the election. And my wife and I talked and said, let's give it a shot. I don't recommend going through 11-person primary. It's not very fun, but got through that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yep.
That was really competitive. Yeah.
And then won the election, gets incumbent Democrat by about 4 points. So, of course, we had Hurricane Ike right before that, too. So lots of challenges. But I want to thank the people of Texas 22. I was so proud to be their voice of vote in D.C. for 12 years. It's such a great, great district, the most diverse one in the entire country. That's our great strength.
Oh, very nice. So, yeah, I didn't know that race was as competitive as the previous one where Sheriff Troy Nehls ended up winning as well. Because in that election, they also had about, I think there were 14 or 15 candidates as well. And then even when you were running, it was very similar. Very good. Pete, can you tell us more about the the P-3, that plane? Because when you say P-3 Orion, most people out there, they have no idea what that is. So, and that's an anti-submarine plane.
It's a crew of 12. It's a rather large plane. It doesn't land on aircraft carriers. People think, hey, Navy guy, tail it. No.
It's too big.
Too big. It's a turboprop engine, which is more efficient down low because this Hunter submarine, you have to drop out what's called buoys. We drop buoys in the water. We can carry 84 of those things. Most of them listen. Some can go active. We call it active. Go ping, ping, ping. Hunting a submarine, your big weapon is noise. You try to find noise they're making and track that noise without them knowing, don't hear your noise.
Is that with sonar?
Yeah, with those buoys. Yeah. Those buoys, those buoys.
The buoys. It has sonar technology in it.
Yeah, the ones that list, they're called die-cast. And die-far are the ones that listen. Die-cast are the ones that ping. We hope the die-far ones that listen are the ones that track the sub, because then they don't know we're tracking them. If we hit a ping, they know, okay, just got pinged, there's somebody above us. And so if we do our mission right, we're tracking them. We're out there for 4 hours, get a crew of 12. You can only fly for about 4 hours at a time. They make you get out, and there's a little place you can just sit in the back of the plane. And if we attack, Jimmy, this is the cool part, we drop down to 200 feet. And
that's really close to the
water. Open our bay doors. We could carry 8 torpedoes. And we drop one out. Ideally, we drop down to sink a submarine. Never knew this great thing about the Cold War, never became the hot war, but we were prepared to come down to 200 feet, open our bomb bay doors. Hopefully, as we fly over the submarine, the Russian submarine, there's a little stinger thing on the tail. It looks like some sort of weapon. It just basically detects anomalies in the magnetic field of the Earth. A big metal boat makes a big anomaly. So, hey, you just flew over a submarine. So ideally, we fly over, and the guy in the back says, mad, mad, mad. We just flew right over that submarine. Weapon away. Bomb bay's up, yank that plane around, come back for another strike. Had a great, great mission. Being land-based had its benefits because we could go and get off the boat. Because you mentioned being on a submarine and aircraft carrier, that's a tough, tough life for those kids. But I love flying. The great thing about having a crew, too, is we're exposed to people from all over the country. I mean, with one common bond. We want to
one common mission.
Yeah, want to defend this
Absolutely.
Country, defend this country through thick and thin.
So those moments must have been pretty intense and high pressure when you got that close to those submarines. That's incredible.
We never tracked a Russian because we beat them. The Cold War is over. But we were jumped by a couple Sri Lankan fighters. We were up there looking for some missiles coming from China to Iraq through violating the sanctions. And they jumped us. That was a little scary because our weapons to fight a fighter was basically throw chicken bones out the free fall chute because we had nothing to shoot a plane down.
Yeah, you have to be escorted by a fighter plane.
Yeah. And then we're going over the Persian Gulf one time, and the Russians had given the Iranians these new great diesel submarines. They're very quiet. We had to retract one. We're flying up a ship. That's not a commercial ship. What is? That's a military vessel. There's 2 of them. The submarine's right there. The kilo's right there. But as per we kind of do these days, we wimped out. We didn't get to track it. They said, don't bother those guys. I want to bother them. Drop a weapon, but track them, let them know we're America's here, baby, we're watching you. But we just stayed, tracked them. And, of course, they yelled at us, American aircraft, veer off, go away. And we just didn't hear it for 5 or 10 minutes. So we said, sorry, guys. International airspace, we're doing complying by the law. Out.
Yeah, I bet you have a lot more crazy and intense stories similar to that. And I also read in your resume, Pete, that the crew that you were working with had one of the best ranks for anti-submarine warfare. Is that correct?
Yeah,
they anti-submarine defenses.
They like Texans called the ASW rodeo, the anti-submarine rodeo. And so my crew, we had 6 squadrons of P-3 in the West Coast. We had this competition in a simulator. Somebody had the same scenario, and we won it. So my squad was the best squad.
It was the top.
Yeah, top squad in the whole
That's so cool.
We're very proud of that. It wasn't me. It was guys in the back. I just flew where they told me to go.
It was the whole team.
Exactly.
Because if they don't have you, nobody can fly the plane.
Exactly.
And yeah, we also share a common bond with we have a passion for Navy vessels. We were talking about that earlier. I mean, I like all types of military vessels, but I have been in a submarine, as you have several times, have been on an aircraft carrier, have been on a battleship, and I've always been fascinated. And we're talking about the battleship actually in Houston, in
Texas,
East Houston. Yeah, that's an incredible ship to go visit.
It's called a dreadnought, Jimmy. It's a class,
yes.
Class from the old British Navy in like 1900, the first big armored battleships. And ours last survived won the entire world. The Texas fought World War I and World War II. I mean,
That's right.
Wasn't at Pearl Harbor. She was on the East Coast. But then the war started, realized she was a little too slow to keep up with our aircraft carriers, so she didn't come to the Pacific. She stayed on the East Coast, but she protected our guys going across the convoys, the supplies. She was off in D-Day, June 6th, 1944. And Ted Poe, my former colleague, his dad was there. And he said, I got inspired because I saw my battleship bomb the heck out of those Japanese. Boom. Because they started firing late at night. They landed about 6 in the morning as the sun came up. And Virgil Poe was his name. Virgil said, saw this big boom, this big fire flash. Goes, that's my battleship, baby. Yeah, and that was, throwing a basically a Volkswagen, 40 miles or 30 miles hit the German batteries. And again, a great ship. She's still down there off of San Jacinto by the battlefield, but she's going to be towed away because she's been in the water now for about 100 years, so lots of issues with rust and corrosion. So they're getting her out of the water, fixing that, and bringing her back.
Yes. That, I haven't seen Ted Poe in a long time, but I didn't know his father was involved in that.
His father's
That's
Virgil,
incredible.
Virgil Poe.
Yeah, I hope that they get that ship fixed and they can keep it as an open museum, because when I visited that ship the first time, I was mesmerized by how grand it is and enormous and powerful.
Jimmy, she has history too. She was the first ship to actually have a takeoff off of a ship of an airplane. They launched.
That's right.
Launched off one of the turrets, turret number 3, right in the middle of the whole ship. I don't know how they did that, but they made some contraption where they put the plane up there and shot it off, and so the Texas started aviation in the Navy.
Yeah, that was pretty much the first pseudo aircraft carrier. They launched the ship
the first
on that.
cat shot, so to speak.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yep.
All right. I know that you talked about your career as a U.S. representative very briefly. Can you tell us more about that tenure? Because you were there for over 10 years. Was it 11 years that you were there?
12 years.
12 years?
Yep, 12
so you
years.
were there through the presidential terms of Donald Trump and Barack Obama. That's correct, right?
I got there for the last 17 days of George W. Bush's term in office. And
Okay, so you were there for George Bush's as well. Okay.
Yeah, Congress was sworn in on the 3rd of January of the election year. The president sworn in on the 20th of January. So, but President Bush, pretty much, he was going home.
He was finishing up.
Yeah, I never saw him. I worked with President Obama for his 8 years, and for President Trump 4 years in office. And very different men, obviously, different parties. But
all three are pretty different.
All three are very different. But, they're all they love America. One thing that has been sort of destroyed, too strong word, but people in D.C. now, even in Austin, all the governments across the country, if you're from another party, you're vilified. Some people in your party think you're a bad American, you hate this country. Jimmy, no one I've served with in Congress hates America. Now, they may want to go down a different road. I want to go down way different. With spending money, for example, on the Green New Deal or whatever, on defense, we disagree. But it's not because we hate each other, it's just we have a disagreement. And that's what makes our country so great. These founding fathers with the Constitution I carry want us to debate, fight wars with words. And that's what we got to do, get back to fighting with words, not using angry words, but words of respect. Make your point, make it strong, but don't say you're a bad person because you disagree. They're not bad people.
Yes, I agree. I see that coming, actually, unfortunately, from both sides, where people start resorting to personal attacks, which I don't think it's a healthy way to be as an elected official or a politician. I don't do that personally. And Pete, I don't think you would resort to something like that.
It's sad, too, because, for example, on my last committee in Congress, Energy and Commerce, had Joe Kennedy from the Great Family was a Democrat on my committee. And he was just sitting there talking one day, a late night markup, just kind of shooting the breeze, which is good, and just talking like two guys. And he said, the media is just terrible. I'm like, whoa. Conservatives tend the ones to say the media is terrible, the fake news type stuff. And he said, Pete, they were so bad. If my great uncle that my party reveres, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, came back today, he'd be too conservative to get our nomination. He fought the Cuban Missile Crisis. He spent money going to the moon. All that money instead of spending here on the moon. And he lowered taxes. He's a dang conservative.
Imagine that. Yeah.
He'd never win. And I said, same thing on my side now. We idolized the great Ronald Reagan, peace through strength. But Ronald Reagan gave amnesty to 3 million Mexicans in this program in 1986. He increased our debt. He'd be, right now, tax and spend Democrat. That's crazy. Both these people were their parties. But that just shows how far we've drifted from our values.
Yes.
And so we've got to get that back. I know what the answer is. We have to respect people and just, like, listen, we disagree. That's fine. But let's go forward. Like Reagan and JFK did. Once they lost a battle, they regrouped. They fought the battle again, but wasn't out of spite, out of anger. It was out of what they thought was right. Got to drop the spite and anger out.
Yes, I like that. It's because this is how I operate. I treat others the way I want to be treated. So I'll show respect to everyone. Before we put that up, can I see that real quick?
Oh, yeah.
If you don't mind. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pete's Pocket Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America.
Jimmy, open up.
I love it.
Check out who signed that. Look on the inside, the first page who signed it. This gets kids stuck all the time when I talk to middle school.
John Hancock?
Yes, John Hancock signed my Constitution. The
Oh,
kids
my
go,
goodness. Really?
They go, that's not something, the paper they had, they had plastic. What is that? Well, that's John Hancock, who lived in Greatwood before he passed away a couple years ago. But that's actually John Hancock's signature. Not the John
Really?
Hancock of the Declaration, but John Hancock from Fort Bend County, Texas.
Gotcha. Well, like I'm so happy you brought this out and shared this with us because I am a big supporter of this this book right here. I know it's small, but there's a lot. There's so much in here, so much greatness, and so much that our founding fathers put into that. And I've always supported that.
Exactly. The best words to be, I've got to get my glass on, but the 10th Amendment is the one that I think is all what this document's about. It was the last amendment because they said, okay, we've done all these things, great things, but one final exclamation point on what we're trying to do as the founding fathers. And I'll read it. if that's
Yes,
okay
please
with
share.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always called myself a supporter of the Constitution and our Bill of Rights.
Can't go wrong by doing that. Here is the
Absolutely.
10th Amendment. Okay, it's one sentence. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively and the people. Basically, D.C., if they ain't yours, it's theirs. And you have to have it assigned to you instead of taking it. And that's what they were terrified of, a dictator, a king.
Yes.
They liked legislative body, a democracy, a republic. And that's what makes this document so great.
Oh,
We the people.
I like that. Yeah, you refresh my memory on that. Thank you, Pete. But I like the
You guys
last
heard
part
it.
as well. The
Yep.
people,
Yeah, we
power
the-
to the
yep,
people.
yep.
So when people think that they can make a difference, I always encourage them to get involved. Because Pete, I met you through being active in the community, whether it was at a business event or a political event. So yeah, we can make a difference. And as the Constitution says, the power is within the people,
Yep.
and then each individual state that you're in.
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's awful, Jimmy. Like, for example, we have elections in November for the White House and Congress. Those have good turnout, like 65, 80% for something really big. But you're electing local mayors, it happens like in May, less than 10% turnout. So 9 out of 10 people didn't vote. Don't complain. If something happens you don't like on their watch, shh. You could have
Sure.
voted. You could have voted them out or not let them get elected. You chose to sit on the sidelines. So get out there and vote.
That is so true. Yeah, the people that are all the naysayers, the complainers. Yeah, if they don't get off their couch to go vote, it's all. They have no right to say anything.
Exactly. If you want to get involved in a campaign, do that.
Oh,
If
yeah,
somebody thinks this man or woman can change my family's projected future, better prosperity, better schools, vote for them. Get out and work for them. But don't sit at home and complain.
Yeah, don't sit at home, eat potato chips, and complain. Rather, go out, support a candidate you like, or go to a rally,
Exactly.
or go to your local political event or party, whichever party you're with. Yeah, I'm not necessarily supporting any
No,
particular
that's-
party, but whichever your
I
values.
encourage Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Green Party, Tea Party, vote.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, encouragement from all sides of the spectrum. But what I do recommend is do some research before you get out there and what that movement stands for. That's very important too, because if we blindly just join an organization which you don't even know where their values are at, then it may not entirely make sense, and you may not understand what you're doing, which I don't recommend.
And most parties have platforms, but few members are lock, stock, and barrel with every step of that platform. There's not normally something that, I don't support that. I support 9 of 10 or 19 of 20, but that 20th one, that 10th one is something I can't support. You can do that research. That may be your issue. This is my issue. If you support the right to life, for example, and you don't you support abortions. You may agree on taxes, defense, immigration, whatever, but that may be just, like you said, take your time. Find out what that person stands for. If they stand for your principles, vote for them, work for them, and don't complain if something happens after the elections and your guy didn't win. Give it a shot. And go back again the next cycle and vote again. Get out there. Vote, baby, vote.
Yes, I like that. I like to encourage people to get politically active and informed, especially with a congressman, former congressman. who better to hear it from, right? All right, P. So yeah, do you have any future plans or current? So first, do you have any current projects you're working on? I have seen that you've been pretty active in the community, whether it's still political circles or business or just community as a whole, which we're thankful for.
Yeah, do a little consulting, Jimmy, for a firm called Hans Scarborough. They're out of Austin and D.C. They're founded by a guy named Ken Hans. If there's Texas Tech Red Raiders on the phone, they know who Ken Hans is because he was a chancellor of Texas Tech for about 10 years.
Very nice.
When they really hit their stride. And I like Ken's team because we're very small. We're Texan. A lot of these guys are multi-state. We're all Texans. And right now we're working on this flood issue. FEMA is redoing the maps, the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Yeah.
Every so often they get to do the rates for hurricane, the federal hurricane insurance, which is all the insurance for hurricanes is basically from the federal government. It's the National Federal Insurance Program. And they're doing a change now for the first time since 1968. When the program was started, it's like, that's a good change. It's got to be pretty old. And their idea is great. Right now, we determine our insurance rates on flood zones, so big swatch of land. That's, if you're away from the river, you pay the same price as someone who's on the river. That's kind of crazy. They're trying to
is crazy.
Yeah, they're trying to make it house by house, property by property, which, okay, I agree with that. But tell us how you're going to do this. What they've told us, what we've gotten from them is, well, across the country, 23% of our taxpayers are going to have an immediate decrease in their flood insurance premiums. Okay, I'm a rice guy doing the math. That means 77% will have an increase.
It's a lot.
And Texas is the worst. We have 90% with an increase. And so what's that increase going to be? How you determine this? It's been a black hole. So right now we're trying out there to get cities engaged, because we can't carry it. If the people, like you said, we the people, if people call up, call their congressman, call their state representative, their state senator, call the White House and say, stop this. I will ask them to delay this. We want to help you. And that's what I'm working on for basically from my position as a former congressman, but also I'm just going around trying to tell people good things. Just don't go think things are so bad in America. I mean, for example, 9/11 happened. I did a little Facebook post I'm very proud of. A lot of people don't know that on that day we had some real heroes. You know, Todd Beamer there at Flight 93, the firefighters, New York, right into the fire when the building was about to collapse. But one that's little known is a young Air Force pilot, first lieutenant named Heather Penny. Her call sign was Lucky Penny. On 9/11, she was at Andrews Air Force Base, just at work. Like you and I watching TV, the first towers hit. That's kind of odd. Nobody thought it was an attack. They thought it was just maybe the guy got lost or had a heart attack or something. And then she saw the second plane fly in. And we all knew that this is an attack. We're at war. Her commanding officer comes in and says, Lucky, we're going flying. We're going to take it off in 10 minutes. Another plane's coming. The third one, Flight 93, had turned towards D.C. And they were so behind him that she took off without any weapons. And she was ordered to bring down that plane if she encountered it. So basically, she's ordered to be an American kamikaze. And I saw her. I didn't realize at the time, but a plane zipped over the mall. I was working for Phil Graham at that time. Zipped two F-16s right over the mall in Afterburner. Right over Washington Lincoln Memorial. Just boom! That was her. Flying out trying to find that plane. And she had a really extreme factor in her cockpit there because her father was a cross-country pilot for United based out of Boston. He may have been on that plane that she was going to take down. And they also talked to her co-pilot, her wingman going out there. They could not eject. They had to die because they had hit the plane. They couldn't take the chance of veering off last minute and not bringing that plane down. And that young lady didn't have to do that. Obviously, Todd Beamer, the guys at Flight 93, acted, grabbed the cockpit, saved her life, but they might have saved my life because I'm convinced that plane was coming to the Capitol. And so that's just another story about American, how great we are in times of adversity.
Yes, so yeah, on this 20th anniversary of 9/11, we definitely want to remember all those that made sacrifices, and then all the heroes as well.
Exactly. And somebody said unknown heroes. I mean, just
There's a lot of those. Yeah.
another story, because I was there, Jimmy. I got home about traffic was just terrible. They couldn't get across the river by the Pentagon. All the bridges were shut down. Just make sure the Pentagon gives what they need. It took me about 5 hours to get home. My wife didn't know I'm coming back. She said, "What's happening?" Their cell phones were all jammed up. I got home about 2 in the morning, or 2 in the afternoon. I said, I want to do something, man. I'm put on my flight suit and go do something, but I can't. I'm too old. And they started calling out for blood because the Pentagon had been hit. People wounded, lots of blood supplies required.
Wait, where were you at this time?
I was in D.C. I was in
so you were nearby.
Yeah, I was
Very
in
close.
Annandale, Virginia. I was working for Phil Graham then in Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
And so I gave blood regularly, so I'm going to go get blood. I drove up to the blood bank there, my normal blood bank, about 10 minutes from my house. Jimmy, the line around this massive building was 5 deep, just circled the whole thing. It's like, oh my gosh, the parking was bizarre everywhere, but no lanes were blocked. They just found a place to park. Of course, as it got going on there with all these people, O positive, O blood, that's a universal donor. Go to anybody. Mm-hmm. And so I have O positive. And so the guy go around, who's got O? Who's got O? And I raised my hand and, come here. So I pushed my way through the crowd. I'm thinking, oh gosh. They're going to start calling me bad names. Hey, scumbag, wait your turn in line. Come on, line cutter. And start pushing me around. They pushed me, Jimmy, but they pushed me to the door. Go, give your blood. I'll stay later. That was awesome. I was gone an hour. Some of those people maybe stayed all night. I don't know if they gave blood. But the fact that they put the country, our needs over their needs and said, you O blood person, go in front of me.
Yeah, it's ironic that we talked about the division going on right now versus when we look back at the time of 9/11, the whole country actually came together.
Yeah,
it was beautiful to see that. And I wish we could have continued that, but over the last 20 years, the last 2 decades, there have just been some, quite bizarre changes in society and politics and I guess culture where that's slowly happening. Unfortunately,
we become very intolerant of people who aren't like us, whether
that's what
they look like or political views. I mean, for example, what we've lost in D.C. is we attack people. Just attack them for their views. It's like, listen, this person, we disagree. That's cool. We have a system to do that called the Constitution, democracy. We debate. We fight battles with words. We fight heated battles with heated words. I mean, but it doesn't become physical. It doesn't become hateful.
And personal either.
And personal. No, I mean, I serve with some people who are way left and some people who are way right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some people think that person's a terrible American. They're evil. It's like no one I served with is evil. From Nancy Pelosi to whomever. There's no evil people there. We just disagree. Let's fight the battle with words, respectful battle. Make your points. If you lose, just like sports, shake the winner's hands and say, "I'll get you next time."
Yeah, good game.
That's it, good game.
Yeah, I think I like how you mentioned that, Pete, because I think agreeing to disagree, it's key.
Yep.
Because even like, for example, on this radio show, if we had a differing opinion about some particular topic, I'm thankful that we've agreed on everything up till now. That makes this pretty easy. But even if we disagreed on a certain topic, we could still get along.
Yeah,
we'd be good friends.
We'll test it. Go Navy, beat Air Force.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still cool.
Yeah, Jimmy's Air Force, former Air Force.
Cadet.
Yes. But he got hurt. He tried and did his best, but little physical injury and can't get in the service. But thank you for trying.
Yes, and yeah, we're talking about actually the ROTC programs across the country and JROTC programs and how they're great for our young kids to get trained and become strong leaders. What are your thoughts about JROTC programs in general and then ROTC programs in college?
Great programs. They teach these youngsters how to be part of a team.
Yes.
How to lead, how to respect. We talk about lack of respect. These kids have it. I mean, I've seen some of the units, and they're sharp as tacks. I mean, you went through boot camp like I did. Mm-hmm. Your uniform's all squared away. Your brass is lined up. Your shoes are shined. Everything's perfect. Those kids are the same way. They're in high school.
Yes.
I didn't care about any of that stuff in high school.
Yeah, me neither.
I was too cool, man. Basketball, the pretty girl over there, what's going to happen on Friday night? These kids are put on uniforms and learning important skills for life, not just for the military, but how to lead, how to be part of a team, again, and they're amazing. And so that's just one example of what we can do in our country to get people involved civilly. And just don't be afraid to step out.
Yes, absolutely. Essentially what I feel like these ROTC programs do is it puts these kids ahead of their even own maturity that they don't even maybe quite understand at that age when you're in your teens. I thought I knew everything when I was in my teens. Didn't we all, Pete?
Oh, yeah.
But little do you know when you're 16, 17, 18. You're still a kid.
Yeah, Mark Twain said it best about his father. You remember I guess he was a satirist there from like the 1800s. Very funny man. And he said, to paraphrase, when I turned 14, I thought my father was the dumbest man in the entire world. He was a stupid idiot. Dumb as all get out. I turned 21. I thought, how did he get so smart in 7 years? And that's what I think I went through. I'm sure my dad will say, that was you. Probably your dad the same way with you.
Yes.
And I'm seeing that with my son. He's 21. He's coming out of the funk, but still, that's part of being young. You know everything. You're going to rule the world, and that's how it works. And luckily, the world shows you, nope.
Then you get popped in the head by reality, right?
That's it.
My thing, though, when I was growing up is there were times when I did have the attitude, but I always respected people. I think that's very important because, as I said earlier, I've always adopted the philosophy of you treat others how you want to be treated, and I still operate like that today.
Yeah. For example, I was always taught playing sports, you pick somebody up if you knock them down. Football, basketball, baseball, whatever. And now that people just walk away. It's like, no, there's not some sort of contrition. You're not saying I'm bowing over, but just be a sportsman. Be a good human being. You knock them down, you pick them up. And we're not teaching our kids that. They're just taught to taunt now or just revel in what they've done in themselves, not what the team's doing. And something we got to change. It takes some time and just some more moral character and maybe a little more faith, go to more church, because a lot of people don't even believe in some being beyond this planet, which Hindu, Muslim, Jew, Christian. There is a force out there that made this planet, made all of us, but I digress.
Yeah, but we can all still get along, as we're talking about, and
Air Force
work
guy
together. We can work together for, being a value to society. That's what it boils down to. I'm really big on that. And so, Pete, the current work you're doing, it's mostly political consulting. Is there some business consulting as well?
It's business.
Okay.
It's with government agencies, but it's business. Making sure they're protected from these regulations that are coming down. And we're also working with some of our guys locally here who've been hurt by the current administration's ban on drilling on federal lands for new oil and natural gas leases. It's really hurting some states like out west and a lot of our companies here. And President Biden promised to have the decision by early summer. It's fall now. We're still waiting for the decision. So we're helping out with that. But again, I'm also just going back and telling good stories and make people realize that this country is the greatest country that's ever been on this planet.
It is.
Be proud to be an American. Even, I don't care if your skin is white, black, yellow, brown, purple, orange, green, whatever, polka dots, where you go to church, how much money you have in your bank account. This country is great.
Absolutely.
Everyone makes a contribution despite their differences.
Yes.
We have more in common than we have apart. Find out where we're common, work from that base as opposed to where we're apart.
Yes, my next question, Pete, is you're still very young and very healthy and super sharp, just judging by how you're answering these questions today. Do you have any future plans in politics?
No, I don't think so. Talk to my wife, but it's a tough road, Jimmy, going up there every week to D.C. and being away from home for about 5 days a week and probably 40 weeks out of an entire year.
Understandable, yeah.
And we had some young kids, they're middle school and early high school, so she kind of raised them by herself. We had lots of people back home. We took care of them. I can't thank my friends, the people from Texas 22 for taking care of my family when I was gone, but it's a rough slog. We had enough of that. Just 58 years old now, I can still do a little work. And
you still look really young, Pete.
Well,
you don't look 58.
I got some gray hair there. You got none of that.
I don't see any. Really?
Jimmy, I see nothing. I got this big forehead, too. Your forehead's not quite that big. On the TV, you can see it. Look at that. Look at that big forehead there.
Pete, do you? So we're going to go back to some current events going around the world right now. What are your current, as a Navy veteran, what are your thoughts on what happened in Afghanistan with the Taliban taking over?
Embarrassing. One of the rules you're taught from almost day one in the military, you probably learned this rule, is you never tell your enemies what your game plans are. You don't give them away what you're going to do. President Biden did just that. Gets elected, says we're going to pull out by September 11th of 2021. And of course, we did that. We forgot, great philosophers said, those who forget history's lessons are doomed to repeat the mistakes. We forgot that Russia invaded Afghanistan in 1979. Big deal. We embargoed their Olympics. The Moscow Olympics summer, boycotted. Terrible Olympics because America didn't show up. And that country, we got a little, Charlie Wilson from Lufkin, Texas, got a little war started on the side there, got some money from some secret accounts, and gave the fighters against the Russians some missiles to shoot down helicopters and the tanks. And so we got them out of there. They pulled out in 1991. And instead of doing something to help them recover from that, we just pulled back. And guess what happened? Who got there? Osama bin Laden. That was his home base when he attacked us on September 11th of 2001. My point is, we've done the exact same thing. We've pulled out completely, and now the Taliban, who are saying all these nice things, we're hearing things aren't so nice, are in control. And that's, again, they're going to work with Iran and all their...
Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda.
Other terrorist groups.
Well, you had the guy, the ISIS-K that did that bomb that killed those 13 Americans at the airport. I mean, those guys will be there now. Mm-hmm. Again, that's what happened. We pulled out. We had to stay there with some presence. I'm not saying have a base, but have those special forces guys. Have some drones. If something bad happens, take somebody out. And don't give a darn if that person's on one side of a border. I mean, I was down there my first term in Congress in Afghanistan, and we're on this border with Pakistan, right there at this checkpoint. And the officer briefing us says, the biggest bomb maker in this region lives right there, 500 feet away, 500 yards away. He's at home. We saw him come home. He's in his house right now. He built the big bomb that blew up last week, killed 30 Afghan fighters. I can take him out in less than 10 seconds if I can do that. I can't do that, though, because he's in Pakistan. He's right by me. That's like Vietnam. The Ho Chi Minh Trail, all the supplies from North Vietnamese were going through Laos and Cambodia. We didn't attack them because if you're going to war, you're going to war. It doesn't matter about maps. Get the bad guys. And we got to learn from that. And hopefully we'll learn from that and keep some presence there, whether it's drones or just somebody close by. If something happens, a bad guy pops up, let's get him.
Yes, okay. All right, we're going to move on to some more politics since you are a former congressman, Pete. And I'm sure you have a lot of stuff going through your head about current events as well, once again. So let's start with your thoughts about local politics, for example, in Houston and Fort Bend County. Because I know you're very familiar with what's going on in Fort Bend County and Houston.
What concerns
so
me is...
your thoughts in general.
Well, a little rough, but the D.C. poison that's happened there, all the acrimony, just the fight, bad Americans, is now spreading. It's spreading to Austin, it's spreading to Fort Bend, it's spreading to Houston, city halls, the commissioners' courts. Guys, don't be like Austin. Don't be like D.C. I mean, Austin, just listen to people and don't just do the right things. And they're hearing a lot of cantankerous back and forth between cities and Austin. You're giving me unfunded mandates. That's what comes from D.C. Don't become freaking D.C. And so I would just tell people, take a deep breath. Remember, you're here to serve the people, not to serve a cause. If it,
that is true. Yeah.
It is. You can be conservative. That's your viewpoint. But that cause is not. You don't do the things you do for the cause. You do it because that's the right thing to do for the country. Lower taxes, for example, whatever. But we've lost that, and it's even happening here. It's creeping down here. That makes me sad because Fort Bend, we've seen some big battles in our commissioner's court that break down on party lines. It's like 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. Guys.
Every time.
Every time. It was don't be 4-1 or 5-0. Get back to being unanimous. Pick what we agree upon. Don't find the things we disagree upon and make those the focus of our actions, because that means the acrimony and dissension and not working together.
Yeah, I know the Fort Bend County Commissioner's Court right now is getting pretty intense with the recent activity going on. A lot of people are getting, heated up.
It's sad, this pandemic, it could have brought us more together. We're fighting along party lines about the vaccines and just about, little local things too. These groups out there, asking you've been vaccinated, pushing vaccinations, getting paid, and blah, blah, blah. Again, that smells like D.C. Don't become D.C. Keep being Texas. People are flocked here, Jimmy, because of what we are.
Oh, yeah, we're different from Washington, D.C.
Yeah, we're different.
And we're different from any other state or any other city.
Jimmy,
Fort Bend County is Fort Bend County.
The proof is the census. It's happened the last two censuses. The last one that happened in 2010, We picked up 4 new congressional seats. All the people who are coming across America coming here. We picked up 2.
Is that in Texas?
That was in Texas.
Oh, that's tremendous.
Picked up 2 this cycle. So 6 in 10 years. No states picked up more than 3 at that
That's
cycle.
huge.
Yeah, because people love Texas. And it's hard to quantify it. We're friendly to businesses. We're friendly to different faiths. I mean, we don't care where you go to work, what your faith is. We go to church. We like to give you a shot, less regulations, and it's working.
Yeah, best of all, you can confidently wear a cowboy hat here.
And cowboy
And a
boots.
belt buckle. And boots.
You can talk kind of funny, too, like say y'all and fix it and all that. But remember, it's not Waterburger. It's Waterburger, like water. Say Waterburger. If you say what a burger, you're a Yankee.
We're going to look at you funny.
Oh, yeah. It's a dang Yankee right there.
Yeah, we do have Whataburger, yeah. All right, Pete, next. So your opinions about, now we'll move on to Texas politics and then U.S. politics.
Yep.
So the state and then the United States as a whole. Just your general thoughts about kind of what's going on.
Well, Texas is still a red state despite all the press reports we're turning blue. We're still red. And we got to make sure we stay conservative because those are the values of most Americans. When I say that, I mean we should stress less taxes, less regulations, immigration policies that actually work, healthcare system that is based on the people, not institutions, organizations, or other things, and also strong military. And I tell people that most people, whether they're Indo-Americans, Chinese Americans, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, whatever, all of them want a good schools to go to, a safe neighborhood, a strong defense that can protect us, and health care that's cheap, that they can afford, that's actually good quality care at a lower price, and something on the board that gets some control. I'm not saying a wall, but something that gets some control. But
Yes.
we dropped the ball on all those things. And so the game we like to fight, let's work together.
Yes.
We
That sounds very reasonable.
Exactly. I mean, I tell people, listen, for example, immigration, I'm opposed to people who can become citizens who broke the law. If they want to stay here and become a citizen, there's a process. It's a long line, maybe 10 years, 15 years, go in the line. But if you came here illegally, you get a job here, no crimes, no social welfare, raise a family, give you legal status. Just, no, you can't vote, you can't get social welfare programs, but stay here. With because I've met a couple of these so-called dreamers, and none of them came here to vote. They came here for 3 reasons. Back home, they have a terrible neighborhood. There's violence. The drug cartels control it. Number 1, safety. Number 2, schools. Number 3, jobs. Voting, all that other stuff, I don't care about that. I want a good neighborhood. I want to have a good job, good schools for my kids. Let's help that happen. Let's give them some legal status, make them pay a penalty, make them learn English, make them promise not to take social welfare, but then let them stay. Take off the dark shadows of just hiding away because we can't do our jobs without them. Construction workers won't work. We can't find construction workers except from overseas. People work in restaurants tend to come from overseas. Not sure why, but we need them.
Yes.
So let's address the problem and not just make this vilified. Go with all these big extremes. Oh, they're all killers. Get the cartels. Focus on the drug cartels, human trafficking, and the drugs coming across the border, not people coming across for a job. I mean, not saying do nothing with them, but just that's a lower priority.
Oh, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah,
that's a big problem right now at the border.
But I said this there. Somebody's probably my party or other parties say, he's crazy. I can't believe he said that.
No, that
Sorry,
makes
guys.
complete sense to me. Are you going to go after
You're crazy.
murderers
You're crazy.
and drug dealers versus people that are just trying to live comfortably? Like, that's just common sense. That has nothing to do with political parties or even political ideologies. It's simply just common sense.
Yeah, again, these people serve a big role here in our economy. Without these people, we don't have the people to do the work here. So have them, if they come across illegally, have them come out of the shadows, raise their hand. Don't punish them except for, okay, pay a fine, but you want to stay here, you can stay here without legal status. You can't vote, you can't take social welfare, you keep your home, get a mortgage, all that sort of stuff, get a driver's license. But you want to become a citizen? That's cool. Wait, just like the normal process, don't cut the line.
Yes. Actually, on my show a few weeks ago, I've had on law enforcement officers on here because I'm a big proponent of we have to have a nation of laws. Because if we don't have that, what do we have? It's anarchy. So I like where you're coming from on that. He brings out the Declaration of Independence again. So no, I've always been a supporter of just law enforcement in general and enforcing the law. Because once again, if we can't do that and if we don't allow our officers to do that, we will not be safe.
And there have been some bad cops. There are bad military people. There are bad people in churches. There are bad people in America. But by far and away, most of these organizations, the people are outstanding. Our cops are the same way.
Yes.
99.9999% are outstanding people who do their jobs every single day, do it the way we're proud of. And Jimmy, that's a tough, tough job. I mean, pulled over somebody who may have a weapon and not being able to just, I can't imagine some of the stresses those people have, yet they do it every single day and do it perfectly for the most part. But again, there's a problem. The media makes out to be some big whole problem about radical cops, racist cops. Like, there are bad cops. I'm not saying all cops are good. All doctors aren't good. They're bad doctors. They're bad whatever.
It's true. Yeah.
Every profession has some bad people. But don't make the bad people paint the good people. Good people are good people. And you said right on the money, support the blue. The cops are good people. The firefighters are good people. The doctors are good people. Even the congressmen, I'm saying, are good people at heart. You may disagree with them, but still they're good people.
Glad to hear that, Pete. Yeah, we can never judge the actions of a large group of people from the actions of a few.
Yeah, exactly.
In any certain group. As you said, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's firefighters, whether it's military, even politics, or any particular business, a church, we have to take that as it is and move past that.
Yep.
Pete, as a decorated Navy veteran, your highest rank was lieutenant commander, is that correct?
Yes, yep, 04.
Yeah, okay, yes, 04. And what are your thoughts about the current state of the military right now? The military-industrial complex.
I worry just because our morale is being kind of degraded because we're not letting them fight and not give the equipment they need to fight. And I'm not saying they want to fight, they don't, but they're called to fight on. They want to have their hands free, go across the border, hit bad guys if that's what it takes, have the best weapons. And now in some areas we're trying to make them weapons of social change. Like, I know we're having women in combat positions, which I'm good with. That's great. But you have to have the same standards as a man to fight combat. Like when I was going through officer candidate school in Pensacola, Florida, I had 2 women in my class. Had this obstacle course. You had the obstacle course. You run through that deep sand there, the bars there, climb over a wall. The woman got to run by the wall and hit it. We had to climb over this wall. Okay, the battlefield doesn't care if you can go around and hit the wall. They care about what you can do. So if a woman there's some women SEALs now, some women in the Marines. Good for you. Keep going. In fact, we had the first woman boxer from the Marine Corps here, Ann Gonzalez, lives in Safford now. She got shot in the face. Remember that a couple of years ago? A woman boxer in the Marine Corps. Oh my gosh. She proved she could do it. Let them do it. Same standards. Nothing, because the battlefield doesn't say women over here, guys over here, whatever over here.
They don't care.
They don't care. Yeah. You got to fight.
Yeah, but what you're saying is they shouldn't lower the standards to cater to that, which I agree with.
Exactly. It's not a social program, it's war. At the end of the heart and soul that our organization, the military, is going to war. And those people should be able to fight the wars, not worry about is that person. Also, many things. But again, that concerns me to be weapons first. And also, doing some experience with green fuel. It's like, okay, that's great, but that fuel costs 5 times more than conventional fuel. We can't spend that money doing a social project. Let's use our ships with gas and oil and whatever we have to get them running. But don't do it with algae and all this other garbage, because let somebody else do that experimentation, not our military. Their job is to protect our country, fight, win our wars, kill the bad guys. Give them what they need. Sorry, bang on the test here. Weapons,
I love the passion,
fuel,
Pete.
Whatever. It just drives me nuts.
Same here.
They're not politicians, not political tools. They are war fighters. Respect them for that. Honor them for that.
Yes.
Jimmy, it's so bad that what's happening. These guys come back home from Afghanistan and Iraq now. Their suicide rate is off the charts. Like 22 Americans who've been there kill themselves every week because of PTSD. And I know that's why, because we're so good in the battlefield now. These guys are coming home with the wounds they've never come home before. They died in the battlefield. But my point is, these people are heroes. Let's do what's right for them, not for politics in their job. Okay, they go to injured force, whatever. Don't mess around with social welfare programs with our service members. Do that with society.
Yes, if anything, I've spoken with a lot of military officers about this. If anything, we should be actually raising the standards. So then we have the best military in the world, and the best. I mean, we already do, but if we are lowering those standards, our military gets weaker.
Yep.
It's common sense.
And the bad guys know that. They see that.
Yeah.
Our equipment's getting
older. It's not rocket science. Yeah. It's like if the let's say Harvard University, if they lowered their admissions standards, it wouldn't be as prestigious. Same concept. All right, Pete, we're going to wrap up the show with
That's an
tips.
hour, man. That's going by fast. Oh my gosh.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh yeah.
We had a great time, Pete. So the last question I always like to wrap up with is, so 3 success tips in life to be successful. So the 3 tips, Pete, I want you to compartmentalize it. So first tip, to be successful in the military, to be successful in politics, and then in life as a whole. Okay.
2 points for all 3, actually. It's for military life and politics. First of all, listen. Listen to people. Act upon what they tell you. Don't make stuff up for yourself. It'd be trustworthy. I mean, the other that Navy, my commanding officer Bob quit on my squadron to get to fly the crew out there on your own, mission commander, all this stuff, a patrol plane commander, big exam, and 3-hour exam, would just grill you about the planes falling apart. You're getting shot up by the Russians, the Chinese, you're doing this, what are you going to do, what are you going to handle it? And he's a naval flight officer, not a pilot. So the first hour and a half were just pilot stuff, like planes caught on fire, something been shot, all those type things. He kind of comes up to me. If I take a little break after the pilot's grilled my backside for an hour and a half and starts cracking his knuckles. I got you all now for another hour and a half. Ha, ha, ha. He said, remember, Pete, in that room there are 2 things that can apply to everything you go through in life to make you better leader, better human being. It's communication and common sense. So use that common sense, that communication, and then just keep your word.
Okay. I love that. Yeah, I can agree with you on those 100%, 200%. All right. Once again, former Congressman Pete Olson, thank you so much for coming to the studio for this interview.
Great
it was
to
wonderful.
Be, the debate.
All right. For everybody tuning in, thank you so much for watching and listening to the show today. We'll be back next week, Monday, 12 to 1 p.m. And everybody out there, please remember to be careful with the tropical storm coming in. Just be smart and be safe and be aware of your surroundings. Signing off. Have a good day. Bye.
Go Navy, beat Air Force.